Okay, in this video we're going to look at teeth whitening, and in the process we'll learn about adjustment layers and doing selections and a couple of other really cool little things. So first off, we're going to go up to File, and I'm going to open Recent, and I'm just going to go grab this lion with yellow teeth. Leave it as is, click OK, and here we have this awesome little picture of a lion. And let's just say that this lion is rather vain and he is upset with how his teeth look in this image, and he's asked us to fix it for him. The first thing we're going to do is zoom in on his face, and you can either use the zoom tool and just click on his face, or you can alternately even drag a square around his face and it will zoom right in like that. Or if we're zoomed out still, as you recall, you can hit the Alt on a PC, Option on a Mac, and it doesn't matter what tool you're on, it'll change to the zoom tool, and then you can use the roller on your mouse to scroll in like that. And then since I have the hand tool, I'll grab it and move him over. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select his teeth. And I keep calling this a him. I realize it's a girl. This is a lioness, so I apologize if I do that again. And you can see that the upper teeth are quite a bit whiter than the lower teeth. So you could actually do this as two separate selections. But for this tutorial, we'll just do them together because it will still improve them quite a bit. So first we need to actually select these teeth. So we can go over here and pick a selection tool. And the ones I would recommend would be either the magnetic lasso tool. You could freehand select it using the lasso tool, but it's a little bit more difficult, or the quick selection tool. For this one, we'll just use the magnetic lasso tool, and I can kind of show you how that works. So you just start in one corner and you click, and then as you drag along the edge, it's going to basically magnetically stick to the tooth. If you miss a little corner, you can always, or if it doesn't catch that there's a corner here, you can always click to create your own anchor point. And we just let that go like that. We can do some clicking right there, and then we just follow this edge. And it automatically creates little anchor points for you. You can see that even if I digress a little bit over here, it still kind of snaps to the white. And then it's a little trickier along the top, because as you can see it wants to pull up above the gum line now. So what I would do is hit backspace and click along the top of this a couple of times to make it go where I want it to go. And then when I get back to the beginning, it does that little circle, see, right next to the magnet. And then I click, and that completes the selection. And then I can hit the Shift key, and I can add to the selection down here. And again, I'm just clicking the anchor on spots where I think it might go awry. And then letting it do the rest of the work. When I get to the beginning, click it, and we have two selections here, which are essentially the same selection. And you can always double check this. Like if I need to zoom in here, I'm going to hit the Alt key again and hit the space bar to do the hand tool, and then move this. You can see I missed a spot along here. I can actually go in with the regular lasso tool, and I can just add these spots in like that. See how that completes it? Clean up that edge. Clean up that edge. And if there's a part that you want to remove from your selection, like say this little purple spot in between, you can hit the Alt key and your plus is going to change to a minus next to the lasso, and then I can just select out a little section of that. See how that removes it from the selection. And actually I would probably do that along here as well. And then get rid of that. There we go, that's looking better. Now I'm going to hit Alt and zoom back out. And spacebar to grab the hand and center everything again. And you can get as detailed as you want with that. It doesn't have to be super accurate. You just have to be careful because we are going to lighten these areas, and you wouldn't want part of this lip selected because then you're going to lighten his lips, and that wouldn't be good. Okay, so now we're going to go down here and we're going to create a new layer, a new adjustment layer based on this selection that we have. And the adjustment layer is right here. If I hover over that, you'll see it says create new fill or adjustment layer. And I just click on it. It gives me a menu, and there are a lot of things you can work with here. You can see though, like a solid fill color, a gradient color, brightness and contrast if you want to increase the lightness or darkness. But we are going to work with hue and saturation since we want to take the yellow out of this, and it will also allow us to lighten it as well. So we're going to click that, and you'll notice a few things happened. First, it brought up our properties panel for hue and saturation here, and we'll get into these dials in just a minute, but you'll notice it also brought up a new layer. So we were working on our background layer, but it created a new adjustment layer. And this little icon, you'll notice, matches this little icon where we created the adjustment layer. So we know that this layer is an adjustment layer. And then it also created a layer mask, which we haven't talked about yet, but where we selected these teeth and then created a new layer based on that selection, it has essentially masked off those teeth. And you can even see, if you can look closely enough, that there are two little white spots here, and this is where we made the selection on the teeth. So the only part that's selected is the white area on this little mask, and all the black area will not be affected by the changes that we make. And that's really significant because we're only going to whiten these teeth, right? And I'll be able to better explain this as we go into this panel and change the properties. So we basically have three main adjustments here. We can change the hue, which is the actual color, and I'm just going to slide these so you can see what happens. If I change the hue, see how it either adds or removes color from it. So here they're turning really green, blue, green again, kind of orange, and then they turn to purple, back to blue again. So we're not going to mess with the hue. I'm going to set that back to 0. But we are going to adjust the saturation and lightness. So hue is the actual color of the rainbow, right? Saturation is the amount of color in the image. So if we reduce the saturation, and keep in mind we're only working with the teeth here, but notice how if I go all the way to the bottom here, then the teeth become black and white. And if I go all the way to the top here, then they're going to become really intense colors. So the reds get redder, the yellows get more yellow, and so on. But again, notice how when I make these changes, it's only affecting the teeth, which are selected in this layer mask. Okay? And then third of all, we're going to adjust the lightness, and it's the same thing with the lightness. If I go really dark, it's going to make the teeth black. If I go way up, it's going to make the teeth just burnt out white. Okay? So I'm going to set these all back to 0 for the moment. And then up here, we have, well, you have some presets, which we're not going to even get into. But you also have your specific range selection here. So you can select the master, which is all the colors, or you can select specific colors, reds, yellows, greens, cyans, blues, or magentas. In this case, we're trying to adjust the yellows because the teeth are yellow. So we're going to select that. And now if we go into the saturation and we drop it all the way down, again, we pull all the yellows out. But if we go big, it's going to make them really yellow. So this is where we're able to just take out the yellows in this image. Cool, right? So I'm going to drop down the yellows a bit here. And one thing to remember is subtle is better. So you don't want to make major changes to things. If I go all the way down to here, they're going to look really gray and kind of lifeless and unhealthy. So we're just going down a little bit. We'll go to like minus 20 here. And then I'm going to, so now they're kind of a little bit bland looking. So we're going to go increase the lightness, which is just going to brighten them up. And again, we're not going to go too crazy. And then you'll notice there's a little icon down here, and I can hide what I've just done or show it. And I think I'll do more on the saturation and a little bit more on the lightness. This is a very vain lion, and she really wants her teeth to look good. Now I can do kind of the preview. Okay, so see, when I click there, you can definitely see the yellows in here. And when I toggle it back on, definitely is brightening up. Watch this while I click on the eyeball here. See that change? See how it brightens? And same with these teeth, they mostly become less yellow. Okay, and I'm going to brighten them just a tiny bit more. Oops, gotta have it toggled on. Okay, and we'll toggle that back and forth again. Sometimes it helps to zoom out. Oops, I just hit the wrong button. Hopefully I didn't mess that up. I think it's the same as what I had. Here, let's close this for a second and we'll zoom out. So we hit Alt again and scroll out. And now I can use the eyeball over here to hide this layer so we can just kind of see the difference. So this is with the changes that we've made. This is without the changes. You can definitely see the yellows kind of coming back into the teeth. And there we are again with the changes. And there it is before changes and after the changes. So you can see it's subtle, but it basically just looks like this guy had a good teeth whitening before he posed for the photo. Or she, I guess I should say. We'll call her the lioness. And that's it. That's how you do a selection and whiten a specific area, such as your subject's teeth. And just a little recap of what we did. We first were selected on the background. We used some selection tools to select an area. So we selected an area, then we went down and we clicked on New Adjustment Layer, and we clicked on Hue and Saturation. It brought up this new panel for us and it created a new adjustment layer. And by the way, this is a better visualization. You can see where I selected that bigger area around the mouth. Now you can really see it in the layer mask here that I have that selected. And you'll notice I can do adjustments on this layer or on the layer that I created previously. And just to kind of show you while we're in here, if I go to this and I play with the lightness, see how it's going to adjust the lightness of that area that I just selected. And this also shows you how, if I wanted to do just the upper teeth on the first adjustment layer and then go back and select the lower teeth for the second adjustment layer and maybe whiten these a little bit more than the upper teeth, then you could do it that way as well. Now, where I don't need that, I'll just close that. Where I don't need this selection in this adjustment layer, I can grab it and drag it down to the trash can right here and let go, and it's gone. So that's our adjusted layer. That's our before with the kind of mother of pearl colored teeth, and that's the vanity shot with the white shiny teeth.